Apes, together, strong! War for the Planet of the Apes is directed by Matt Reeves, the same director who also directed the second movie in this Apes trilogy, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and once again stars Andy Serkis as Caesar. So we've been taken through this journey with Caesar. We saw him as an infant and rise, to watch him grow to become this revolutionary leader in Dawn, and now in War for the Planet of the Apes, we see Caesar face the most difficult challenge of his life and struggle to retain his soul. So War for the Planet of the Apes takes place after the events of Dawn, and Caesar's apes are hiding out in the woods just wanting to be left alone. But thanks to Koba betraying Caesar and leading that attack on the humans in Dawn, it started a war between the two groups, and a faction of humans led by the Colonel, played by Woody Harrelson, have been sending in reconnaissance teams into the woods to look for Caesar. Eventually, the Colonel manages to form a raid and storms into the Apes' stronghold, which leads to many casualties. Seeing that they are no longer safe in their current home, Caesar basically becomes the Ape Moses and commands his group to travel to a safer location where they're further from the humans while he tracks down the Colonel and make him pay for what he's done. Accompanying Caesar are a handful of his closest friends, Maurice, Rocket, and Luca, and on their journey they discover a girl who is incapable of speaking, and Bad Ape, who was an ape that was kept at a zoo, and managed to survive by salvaging what he could. This movie actually really surprised me. With a title like War for the Planet of the Apes, I was expecting your typical summer blockbuster war movie, but it was totally not that at all. This movie was really emotional and will definitely pull at your heartstrings. While watching the movie in the theater, there were a couple times where I tried to hold myself back from tearing up, but ended up sniffling and crying anyway. Someone cutting onions in here? Yeah, I cried during War for the Planet of the Apes, so what? Can we finally give Andy Serkis an Oscar for his performance capture work? I mean, the Academy should have noticed his work on these Apes movies by now, right? Because he has given amazing performances in these films, and once again delivers another one in War for the Planet of the Apes. We got to see Caesar grow up throughout these movies, and in War, we see Caesar struggle to maintain his integrity and his soul. He has to figure out whether he is strong enough to look past what the humans have done and go for the best interests of his apes, or will he fall down the same path as Koba and be consumed by hatred for humanity and revenge. These struggles make Caesar such a compelling character in the film, and is only further amplified by Andy Serkis' genius, which can be seen on screen. Of course, bringing Caesar and the Apes to life also involves the work of talented artists who work on the CGI for the film, which is almost seamless. These are pretty much living and breathing acting apes on screen because they look so convincing. And the performance capture work on this film is just amazing. I heard that they delayed the film to further develop the performance capture technology to make the apes more expressive, and it shows on the screen. The apes emote very well and you'll see a lot of facial close-ups in the movie. I really enjoyed the relationship that Maurice and the little girl had. Their bond in the film was really quite adorable. Maurice teaches her how to sign and has some pretty heartwarming scenes with her. Bad Ape, played by Zahn, serves as the comic relief to the very serious and emotional tone of the movie. He's an ape that Caesar and his crew encounters at a zoo, and has been surviving on his own when the humans working at the zoo died off from the simian flu. The existence of Bad Ape shows that there are actually other groups of apes out there in the world besides Caesar's group, and could be explored further if another Apes movie is in the works. I thought Woody Harrelson was fine in the role as the main villain of the story. The Colonel is a pretty ruthless character and is willing to sacrifice his own people for the survival of humanity. His story is pretty tragic, and while what he does in the film is pretty ruthless, you can understand where he's coming from. It's basically desperation mode for the humans, and at this point, some pretty terrible and shady shit has to be done in order for the human species to survive. There aren't a lot of negatives I can say about the movie. The film was pretty solid throughout. If I wanted to nitpick, I would say that some of the scenes with Bad Ape felt a little forced. I understand that he's supposed to be the comic relief of such an emotional movie, but it felt like they tried to force humor into a lot of his scenes, even when it wasn't needed. But other than that, this was a solid finale to the Apes trilogy, and makes me a happy panda. I'm actually really impressed with this trilogy. All of the movies in this Apes trilogy have been really good, and I'm gonna say it. It's probably the best trilogy I've seen so far. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it, and subscribe if you haven't already. It'll really help out the channel. Until next time, Panda out.